Hello everyone, Rurikhan here, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys some more Guild Wars 2 content. I'm going to be talking about some of the game's features, the storyline, the events, the combat system, all that kinds of good stuff that you can expect from Guild Wars 2, and why is this the MMO that you want to play in 2012 or 2013. I mean, hopefully it's 2012. I believe it is launching in 2012 because there still isn't a release date for this particular game yet. So let's talk about the beta for starters. So beta goes up on the last Friday, I believe it was Friday 27th. As the beta is going up, I'm just getting ready, getting ready to log in, do all that kinds of crazy stuff. I log into the game, I create my character, I play 5 minutes, and boom, down go the European servers. And it was a little bit frustrating, actually. I went on to Twitter, check out what was going on, and apparently Europe immediately overloaded the servers because the beta went live kind of on Europe's gaming rush hour, so to speak. It was 7 p.m. and 7 p.m. on a Friday is pretty much when everyone's getting ready to get their game on. So Europe basically completely thrashed Guild Wars 2 servers. I'm not sure if the US got some problems logging in later on or not, but for me, I played for like 5 minutes after creating my character and I got disconnected, and it was a pain in the ass to go back in. So basically, I had very limited time on this particular weekend already, and after the issues that I had logging in and all the crazy stuff, it gave me even less time to actually record. And then there were some performance issues with the game because it is a beta, so performance issues are to be expected. So what I'm trying to say is that the footage is very, very limited. I did not have a lot of time to play it, and it's one of the reasons why what's showing on screen might not exactly be related to what I'm talking about. So please don't kill me, murder me, send me hate mail, or anything about that, simply because what I am talking about might not match the images you guys are seeing in the background. Anyways, let's get this started, shall we? Once I finally got into the beta, I had a blast. I started out by playing a Norn Guardian, and the character that I'm actually going to be making as my main character when the game comes out, it's going to be a human Guardian because I really like the Guardian playstyle. I was thinking I was going to make a warrior, but I wasn't as into the warrior as I was into the Guardian because the Guardian is a lot about handing out buffs, and there's a lot of AoE buffing, defending your companions and stuff like that, and I think that is going to be a lot of fun to play in one of the game's multiple events that you're going to be having. I mean, specifically, not specifically, but just about any event that you're going to have. I think that the Guardian is going to be a key character that everyone's going to want to have because I basically shield everyone up. I do heals for everyone. I do damage on monsters AoE time, and there's just a lot of utility and functionality to the Guardian class, which really made me enjoy it, which is one of the reasons why I didn't even record it, because I didn't play it all that much because I had already decided this is going to be the class I'm going to be playing when the game comes out, and I don't want to spoil or ruin my own fun of it, which is why the kind of Let's Play style video that I made was for the Norn Engineer, because it still gives you guys pretty much a good idea of what to expect at the start of Guild Wars, and it wasn't a class that I was going to be playing when the game actually comes out. So I had a lot of fun playing the Engineer class. It looks like a lot of fun. I actually played it later on in PvP, and you get a better idea of how the class works, because once you go to PvP, it actually levels you up to equal everyone else's level, and you can get a pretty good idea of what to expect of each class. And you guys were probably looking at my video and saying, oh, so the Engineer is kind of like a Ranger type class. Not necessarily. Actually, the Engineer works more like the Engineer from Team Fortress 2 because he lays down turrets, does all of this crazy stuff. I mean, those of you who researched anything into Guild Wars 2 already know kind of how the Engineer works. I'm just saying that to kind of get people not to have the wrong idea about the Guild Wars 2 videos that I've just put out. Now, let's talk a little bit about what can you expect from the storyline. So, from what I could tell from the beta, you don't really have quests. This is not really something that was new or anything. Everyone pretty much knew you don't have quests, you have events. However, you do have one quest, which is your main quest, which I will call from here on forward the storyline quest. And it seems to me that every race/class combination gets its own storyline quest. It's either that or further down the line, the different classes from the same race might bottleneck and go into eventually the same quest line, because the quest lines seem to be very race specific and not so much class specific, so to speak. That was the idea I've got from the beta anyways. I could be wrong. I didn't do a whole lot of research on this, so I'm merely speculating, and there might even be news out there correcting me. So if they are, feel free to kill me and murder me and slaughter me. I have no problems with this. But like I was saying, it feels to me that there's going to be a storyline for each race/class combination. And that storyline is going to have several locations where it's going to be instanced. So at the start of the game, pretty much every race is going to have one major monster they're going to have to defeat. I played only Norns and Char because the only races available for the beta were Norn, Char, and Human. And I did not want to touch on the humans because I want everything to be new and fresh when I actually get to the game itself. So this storyline quest seems to me that it is really the only quest that you kind of have to follow in a traditional manner. Now, I might be wrong. There might be a couple of side quests, so to speak, that you will follow in a traditional manner, just like any other MMO, which is like, okay, go to this point, do this thing, and then do that thing. And those are the kinds of quests that I consider traditional quests. You know, someone just calls you and then tells you have to go to this guy, and this guy's going to tell you to go to that guy, and proceed along the story. The rest of the game is pretty much about exploration, which is something that I can really appreciate, because it's like, oh, I'm tired of being in this zone. I want to go to another zone. Oh, but I have to finish all the quests in this zone. Well, not in Guild Wars. As long as you have the appropriate level, you can go have fun wherever you want. It's like, oh, I'm tired of this particular valley. I'm going to go someplace else. I'm going to go to a different valley. I'm going to participate in different events. And that is something that really pulled me into the game. The fact that there's not a linear questing thing that kind of pushes you through an entire zone. Is like, okay, now you go here, and now you do this, and now you go here, and now you do this. It's more like, I'm just going to go here and see what happens. And once you get there, you will have events coming out all over the place. There's going to be events all over the place, pretty much. And the good thing about this is that suppose that you level one character all the way up to 80, you do your storyline quest, you're done with your storyline quest. Along the way, you did some of these events that we're talking about, and now you're level 80, and you're like, okay, so what happens now? Am I kind of done with exploring the game because I've pretty much seen the whole map? For starters, you might not have seen the whole map. And the game will scale you down if you go to a lower level zone. So let's say that you're level 80 and you feel like going around back to your origins for some reason, go back to your startup zone. You can go there and you can participate in the events taking place on that location, and you will have all of your skills, all of your gear, all of that stuff, but it will be scaled down to the appropriate level of that zone, which allows you to re-experience the content with a friend, or for whatever reason that you wanted to go back and do the content again, or in case you missed a specific event, you can go back and redo the events that you've missed with the appropriate level on your character, which will allow you to keep a balanced experience, as opposed to just raffle stomping everything because now you're level 80 and you just don't give a damn. That, I thought, is amazingly cool, especially the part that you can go back to play with your friends. Because, I mean, think of it like this. Some of us are going to be early adopters of Guild Wars 2, and we all know that we enjoy playing with our friends cooperatively and all that kinds of stuff. So after you're level 80, you can just go back. Let's say a friend of yours joins the game after you're level 80. You can just tell your friend, okay, well, meet me in this zone. Actually, no, you can just ask your friend, which zone are you in? Your friend will tell you, oh, I'm in zone A. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go to zone A. Game scales you down, and it's going to be challenging for the both of you, instead of you just killing everything for your friend and power leveling him. I think this is one of the aspects of the game that really attracts me because there's always that issue. Like whenever I would get a friend of mine to play World of Warcraft, it's always that thing, oh, now I have to make a new character. I didn't really feel like making a new character. Have to go down this huge ass quest line that I've done 1,001 times before. And on Guild Wars 2, it's going to be different. It's going to be like, oh, sure, I'll join you in your events or whatever. You can even join them in their storyline quest, according to what I've read in the features. I haven't actually tried this out in the beta because I only had one friend of mine playing the beta, and we ended up on separate servers, and I couldn't transfer servers. So that was a pain in the ass. But going back to the storyline, when you're actually doing your main storyline, you're going to have companions that you're going to be getting. At least I'm speaking from the experience of playing a Char warrior, and I'm just going to have to assume that in a general, in a subjective way, that's going to be pretty much how each character is going to work. So let's say you're playing your storyline. There's going to be sections of your storyline where you're going to have companions, NPC companions that are going to join you. They're going to interact with you. And in the case of the Char warrior, you actually get to pick the companion that goes with you. They tell you a whole bunch of classes, well, not classes, they name you a whole bunch of Char heroes, and they tell you kind of what each of the Char heroes is about, and you get to select one to be like your best friend or something like that. And basically that's the hero that you start with on your storyline. Like I chose this Char named Maverick, and during each storyline event that I was in, Maverick was there with me, and he was a fun kind of guy. He's like Maverick is like the crazy warrior that just goes off and kills everyone or something like that. And during my experience, there was also something that happened where I was recruiting more companions, which I assume that those companions are going to factor in further down your storyline. There was also a choice offered to me during the story, which pretty much tells me that there's going to be several choices along your road from level 1 to level 80, where you're going to actually impact your own story. And there's going to be an instance, I believe, in each of the capital cities that is dedicated for your character. Like, let's say if you're a Char, there's going to be an instance in, what was it called? The Black Citadel. There's going to be an instance in the Black Citadel that's going to represent all of your story. And it's going to develop differently according to the choices that you make. So now proceeding onward, what was the choice that I actually got to make, just in case you guys are curious? So I'm in this arena as a Char warrior, and I'm in this arena fighting because I challenged this one guy to combat. And for some reason, they put me in this arena while I have to fight off a whole bunch of monsters. So I kill all the monsters, and at the end, you get to actually challenge the guy that you were challenging. You fight him off, and once the fighting is done, the guy basically cowers up like a little bitch, and he's like, "Oh, please don't kill me. I'm your friend. Don't kill me, don't kill me, don't kill me." And I was like, yeah, about that. So there's a dialogue scene, and once that dialogue scene is done, they give you the choice. You can either spare the guy and tell him, you know what, go ahead, run away, whatever, you little bitch, or you can kick his ass. I mean, I'll give you guys about 0.5 seconds to figure out which one I picked. I basically killed his ass. So I killed this guy, and that obviously is going to have an impact on my storyline, which I didn't really see the extent of the impact because I didn't play it all that much, because again, I did not want it to spoil my experience. But it was a lot of fun. The stuff I did that I played, it was incredible. The beta really gave me a good sense of what this game is going to be about, because I was still wondering, am I really going to like it? Am I not going to like it? Because they promise all this stuff. I wonder how they're going to deliver it. And it really did deliver on a lot of points that I was expecting, and it delivered even more on stuff that I was not expecting. So storyline apart, we each know that there's going to be a tailored storyline for each of the races / classes, and it's going to be tailored to the choices that you make and all that kinds of crazy stuff. So that's the main storyline. So apart from that, I want to talk about events, because events is really one of the big things that really motivates me in Guild Wars 2. Events is like the thing that I was really curious about and how it worked. and how are they going to do it. And the way they did it is actually pretty sweet. So basically in the beta, how it worked was you would see these hearts in your map, and each of the hearts would mean there's an event here. However, besides the events that were happening, because like you would get to the hearts and it would be like, okay, I need you to go kill a whole bunch of monsters. That, let's say there was a basic event like that. You would have to kill monsters, and you would be there killing monsters, and you start leveling up your a little bar that you get on your screen as you're killing monsters or performing several tasks that you're supposed to perform in that particular area. Let's say, okay, I'm tired of this area, I don't want to be here. Your bar is just there, it stands still, like your progress on that area stands where it is, and you can go somewhere else, do something else. If you're a completionist, you'll eventually go back and finish your thing. If you don't really care, you don't have to be there. You can go do another activity that you're having more fun with. And there's going to be tons of players in those areas performing those activities. I'm not sure that these things that I'm talking about right now actually classify as events. They're kind of like faction grinding almost. I don't really know, because those were not very dynamic. It's like, oh, just go here, do these things. Whenever you enter an area, it will tell you the objectives that will help the person responsible that's in that area. So like, let's say you're a char and you're somewhere in the map and it's like, oh, we've got Flame Legion in this area. You're supposed to be killing Flame Legion. That's a regular task that you're performing, just going off killing Flame Legion. However, while you're in those areas, dynamic events will begin occurring. Like, for instance, when I was playing, I believe it was the Norn Engineer, I was at this cave. It had some beasts. Were they Skrulls? I don't remember the exact name, so don't kill me if I'm butchering anything. But basically, I was killing a whole bunch of beasts, and all of a sudden it says, oh, you need to go inside this cave and destroy the food supply of these guys, or steal their food supply. And you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. So you go there and you start stealing the food. And then more stuff happens, like, oh, the Grawl are aware that you're stealing their food. Now they're coming back to steal their food back. So now protect the food that you've stolen. So now you're playing a defensive mission. Once you're done with that, the thing progressed onto, what was it? Now you have to go inside and destroy these religious artifacts of the Crawl to make sure that they lose their morale or something. So then we go inside and we start smashing up everything inside the Crawl's home. And then at the end there was a monster that spawned there. And basically the event was proceeding. And I know I'm being a little bit confusing because, I mean, the beta weekend was so rushed for me. It all like happened in a blink of an eye, in all honesty. So we're going inside this cave, killing all this stuff, and with me there were like about 20 to 30 players, everyone doing this event, and there was no grouping necessary. Like, the game will automatically analyze the contribution that you're making. Nobody's going to be like, hey, leave my mobs alone. Hey, stop attacking my mobs. You know, that kind of stuff. It doesn't happen. It's like, if you die, anyone else in the world can go there for you and resurrect you, for instance, because you're in this big blob of people and everyone is working towards the same goal. And there's no need for grouping or whatever. It doesn't matter, because everyone is working towards a goal. And it's just, I mean, it's almost like, how come nobody has thought of this before? Just eliminate grouping. Just get grouping out of the equation. Just everyone that's in the same zone, they're all participating and everyone's having fun. And that was pretty much the sentiment that I was getting from everyone that I was finding in the game. Everyone was having a blast, just going out, doing these events, and everyone was participating. It's not like, oh, there's a limit. I'm sorry, we already have like a full rate of 8 people, and now we can't invite anyone else. No, there was like fucking 30. In some locations, there were more than 50 people doing an event, killing bosses, killing monsters, and the event was progressing with all of these people participating. And what happens is, at each stage of the event, the game will classify your participation. Like, let's say you were just hanging around shooting 1 or 2 monsters every now and then. You're not really participating all that much. So the game will tell you, you get a bronze participation. And the more you participate, the higher your participation score will be. Like, it can go all the way up to gold. So it can be a silver level participation, a bronze level participation, a gold level participation. And of course, your rewards will increase if you get higher up in there. So I mean, basically, it's a system that will reward you regardless of how much you can do. It will just adjust your rewards. I mean, let's say someone doesn't know how to play their class all that well, a casual player, whatever. He can still participate in the event. Just try not to die, hit a couple of monsters, whatever. He will still be rewarded. At bronze level. If you have full mastery of your class, you will obviously be able to score higher results in these events. And I mean, the biggest deal of all, and I cannot stress this enough, is the fact that there is no grouping in these events. It's everyone that's there is participating. Now, during the beta, we did notice, me and a couple of other people did notice that we were having sometimes when we logged in and there were a lot of people online, the game said it was putting us like in a backup world, and that when the main servers were fine again, we'd be transferred to the main server. So it's basically a service that allows you to keep on playing even if the main world of the game is full. So, I mean, that's pretty important, right? I mean, even if you can't really log into the main servers, you can still keep on developing your character. You're just going to be playing probably with a lot less people. Still, I mean, the events is what really got me, and it was what I was really looking forward to and anticipating were these massive events. I mean, there was even an event that I did with my Char Warrior, and I couldn't even take hits on melee, so I even switched to a rifle. And this event, it took a long time. We were taking out this Flame Legion Shaman. And man, a lot of people were dying. There were like 30 or 40 people in there. A lot of people were dying. I was laying down a banner to give support to my allies because I couldn't take melee hits from those guys. So lots of people dying, lots of people making damage, a huge mess. Monsters coming out all over the place. Simultaneous events. Like there was another event in the area that was a Drake Queen in the river or whatever. So it's like we're doing this shaman event, and at the same time, oh, the Drake Queen is here. You guys have to handle with that too. And we're like, oh my God, it's completely crazy and insane. And it was a lot of fun. It felt really fun, as opposed to, oh, here's a quest. Go kill 10 boars. And then, okay, now you've come back. Now I want you to go kill 10 super boars. Oh, and now you've come back. Now I want you to go kill 10 rabbits and bring me their tails. It's different. It's really different because you feel that you're taking part in a massive event. At least that's the way I felt when I was in the beta. Every event was this massive thing that was happening throughout the world, and there was always at least more than 10 players doing it, and that's why it was so fun. And I just hope that people can really see the potential behind this event system, because I just can't get tired of talking about it. The difficulty of the events will scale according to the number of people that is there, ensuring that the events are always challenging and tuned up to the level that ArenaNet wants them to be. So it's not like, oh, let's just get 100 players and brute force this thing. Nope, because the event is going to be tuned towards 100 players. As a matter of fact, that event that I was talking about, the Shaman event, I mean, that Shaman was level 8. I was level 7, and the bastard looked like a World of Warcraft level 80 raid boss or something. And I was like, oh my God, nobody can kill this thing. There was like 40 of us shooting at it, casting spells at it, hacking it with weapons, and people were dying left and right because this one shaman was kicking our ass because it was tuned. And eventually we got it down, but it was tuned towards the number of people that were there. And there was like 40 or 50 people in there, so the event was just being really, really hard. And again, these events, it's like if you're tired of being in one zone, as long as you have enough level to go someplace else, you can just go someplace else. Just don't be in that zone if you don't want to be there. The thing about this game is that it gives you the power of choice. It's not like, okay, we have this set of quest lines planned, so it's going to be, the player is going to go through this area, then from this area, they're going to have to go to this area, there's a chain quest in here, and then there's a link quest in here that will take the player there. No, it's more like, oh, I feel like going this way. I want to go this way and see what happens in this zone of the map. as long as you have the level for it. Because let me just tell you, if you do not have the level for it, oh my God, the game will punish you. It will kill you. And that was one of the things that I loved. Because I was playing it pretty much like you play any MMO, like mindless. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just like, oh, I'm just going to go here and spam my skills. That was my thought process, because that's kind of the thought process that you get once you've played a whole bunch of MMOs, right? You're like, oh, I'm just going to see, let's see, we have what? We have a fireball, we have a staff beating, and we have this other ability. I'm just going to go here and spam this stuff and kill these monsters. That's what I was thinking. And all of a sudden I go to this cave, and there were monsters that were like a level above me. So I go in there and I'm like, oh, whatever, I don't care. I'm just going to beat these monsters up. And they killed me. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Were you using your skills appropriately? Because you just died. And I was like, whoa, you mean I actually have to stay focused? This is so new to me. Anyways, let's talk a little about the combat system, shall we? Pretty sure a lot of you are eager to know about how the combat system works. So it's a target-based system, so it's not like Terra, which I'm pretty sure that a lot of people were expecting it to be kind of like Terra. It's not. It's a target-based system, but there's also obviously a lot of AoE, and there's dodging. Yes, this game has dodging. So if you double tap any of your keys, any of your movement keys, so let's say you double tap sideways, your character will dodge sideways. You double tap forward, your character will roll forward. You double tap backwards, your character will kind of roll backwards. And that is dodging. And while you're rolling, from what I could tell, people can't really hit you. However, obviously, you can't just be rolling, you can't just be rolling, whoa. No, that's not really going to happen. You have a limit. There's like this bar, I think it's called an endurance bar, and that bar is going to basically go down each time you perform a rolling action. So in a roll, like in quick succession, you can only make like 3 rolls or something like that. So after you dodge 3 times, there's a cooldown before you can actually dodge again in order to balance it. Because otherwise, everyone would be in PvP just rolling all over the place, dodging everything, and that would make no sense. So obviously, there's a roll that will allow you to dodge people's attacks, but you have to know when to use it. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to spam the crap out of this and roll my way from here to the end of the map. No, it doesn't work like that. So that's a pretty good thing that I thought. It's a very nice addition. I haven't really seen this anywhere else apart from Terra, of course. Terra's combat system also has dodge rolls. It's a very fluid combat system. It doesn't feel... you don't get that feeling that you get in some other MMOs where like you click your character and the character starts moving or doing something awkward that you really didn't order it. I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm talking about. In Guild Wars, it feels very fluid. You feel in control. Okay. However, let me just tell you, it does have a system that kind of differs from most MMOs, because most MMOs it's like you decide, oh, I'm going to put a key for this skill, another key for this skill, whereas in Guild Wars it's kind of different because you assign skills to skill slots, and some of those skill slots you can't actually move the skills between slots. I mean, maybe that will be implemented in a final version. At least I hope so, because I had a bit of a difficulty adapting to the way that I do key bindings in MMOs to Guild Wars 2, because it seemed to me that Guild Wars 2 was mostly made to be played with a default settings, and I'm just not used to it. But basically the thing is, let's say for instance you have a weapon like an axe. So the first couple of skills are going to be dependent upon the axe, upon the weapon that you're using. And what happens with that is that first you get a basic skill that just whacks on stuff. Then you get another skill that, let's say, makes you leap forward and attack things. And those skills get unlocked at a certain progression. And what happens is, whatever you put for skill slot 1, if you switch weapons, it might be a completely different and unrelated skill that you really don't want to have on that particular key binding, which is why I much prefer switching key bindings around. Whatever. What I'm trying to say is I hope they give me more freedom to customize my key bindings in the final version, because I had a couple of problems with the key bindings. But anyways, back onto the combat system. Like I said, it's very fluid. It's a solid target-based system with a lot of AoE going around and turrets being laid down and all kinds of crazy stuff happening. So it's not just a basic target-based system. I mean, there's several skills that don't require targets, but the gist of it is it's a unique combat system that although you can pick up references from several other MMOs, like, oh, it has a little bit of World of Warcraft in it, it has a little bit of Terra in it. You can pick up references from several other MMOs, but the thing is, it's a pretty unique combat system that I don't think that people have seen before. So apart from that, there's something else, which is there is a death system that you're used to seeing in other action type video games, like the game that comes to mind. I'm not actually sure that this happens in that game, but I think it does. Is Gears of War. I think you have this system, and what happens is once your hit points get completely depleted and you die, so to speak, your character lays on the ground and you get like a skill set that you can use. I believe it's either 4 or 5 skills. It's not really fresh in my memory right now, but you get 4 or 5 skills that you can cast while you're lying down, still alive. So you're like struggling for your life. And what happens is, if with those few skills that you get, you kill the target that you were aiming for, you will resurrect. If, however, you see that you can't kill the target, there's several skills to help you survive, and usually there's one skill that's like a kamikaze skill. In the case of the warrior, it's like you get to revive for a little while, wreak havoc like a bastard, and then die again. In the case of the engineer, I think that you could detonate a bomb and explode. So there's a lot of stuff that you can actually do after you die. However, obviously, I mean, if you can't get any of those things done, like have an ally go there and revive you or kill something, you will eventually just outright die and stay dead, and you'll have to respawn at a waypoint or something. So that is the combat system. In PvP, whenever you kill someone, they get this same menu. However, you, as the person who killed him, you also get to press the key F, and you get this little animation, and you kill them outright, so that they can't really come back or get resurrected or whatever. So that is the combat system. I know that I haven't went into too much depth about the combat system, but I only played it for a little while for this weekend, so I'm sorry about that. There's also water combat, which is basically what happens is you have a different set of weapons when you go inside water, which I find kind of cool, because it wouldn't really make a lot of sense if you're underwater firing rifles and whatnot, because rifles require powder, and underwater powder doesn't really work all that well. So I thought it was kind of cool that they did that. Also, when you're underwater, the world doesn't become all blurry and completely unplayable and stupid. And I think I like what they did with it, because, I mean, let's put it like this. Sure, when you're underwater in real life, everything looks bluey and blurry and all that bullshit. But in a video game, you don't want to be looking at a blue, blurry piece of crap. So in Guild Wars 2, when you go underwater, your game still looks like it's in HD. And I was like, yeah, I fully support this. It is still a little bit awkward to fight underwater, because you get the additional axis of Z going up and down and all that kinds of crazy stuff. But it is a lot of fun. So like, let's say several classes get different weapons for water. Like, I believe that my warrior had a spear and a spear gun. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of cool. So you get different weapons, different skills, which will also unlock according to the times of you use them. I mean, it's completely insane, the amount of detail that goes into this combat system. Also, I forgot to mention something, which is the fact that each time that you get a weapon, a different weapon, you will start out with a very basic skill for that weapon, which is usually just, I should just call it the whack skill. It's the skill that whacks stuff. It just smacks them. It's like the auto attack skill, right? That is the skill that you get with each of the weapons that you first start out with. But the more you use that skill, it will slowly unlock other skills that you can use with that weapon. So it's kind of like a little unlocky system type thing, the way that thing works. And it's kind of fun, because you'll want to, like, oh, now I want to use the sword so that I can unlock all of my sword skills. And now I want to use this so that I can unlock all of these other skills. And yeah, it's pretty sweet. And now that we're talking so much about skills, we might as well transition into skills. So how do skills work? So you have profession skills, which will depend upon whatever class you happen to pick. I mean, yeah, actually Guild Wars 2 calls them professions. We call them classes. Whatever. Profession is the same as a class. So you have a couple of profession skills, like if you're an elementalist, your profession skills will include attunement to the 4 elements. If you are a guardian, I noticed that I had 2 profession skills. One of them was this thing that basically healed everyone around me. The other one was a skill that made everyone around me do fire damage. Like holy fire, holy vengeance, and that kind of stuff. And yeah, so you get your profession skills. If you're a warrior, your profession skill will depend upon the weapon that you're using. Like I had an axe throughout most of the time, and the profession skill for the axe is basically my character would leap forward, do a spinning motion while in the air, and then come down with the axe and lay the smack down. And then after those profession skills, you have your weapon skills. So you start out with 3 skills for whatever you happen to have in your main hand, and that will switch according to the class you are and the weapon you're using. Yes, I'm not kidding. It does have that many skills. Like if you're a warrior with an axe, and if you're, I don't know, let's say I suppose that rangers can also use axes, the ranger will get a different skill set than the warrior for the same weapon. Okay, so you're going to get 3 slots for whatever you're holding on your main hand. And then you have 2 slots for whatever you're holding on your offhand. Yes, this also matters. Like you can be a dual wielding warrior, you can dual wield 2 axes. Your last 2 skills will be different than if you were to use an axe with a shield. Because if you get a shield, you get a shield strike or whatever it's called, a shield bash, and you get an ability to block stuff. If you get the 2-handed thing, basically you get an ability that worked like Blade Storm. And yeah, so there's 3 skills for your main hand, 2 skills for your offhand. Then there's a healing skill that every class gets a healing skill. If you still don't know, this game does not have the Holy Trinity. There's no dedicated healer, there's no main tank, nothing. This game completely said, you know what you can do with the Holy Trinity? You can shove it up your ass and wave it goodbye as it goes away. Because that's pretty much what they did with the Holy Trinity. Holy Trinity is gone. So every class will get a healing skill, and you will have to be the judge of when you should be healing yourself. Sure, there are classes that have support stuff. Like, for instance, I know that the engineer has a skill that he can lay down a turret that heals everyone around him. The guardian also has a skill that heals everyone around him, but those are just like small little support heals. Like you can compare those to old school paladin, whatever. I'm not even going to say what you can compare it to. Let's just say those heals are not going to make or break a fight. They're going to help you a little bit along the way, but if you die, it's your own damn fault. Or it might be someone else's fault in case they're not doing enough damage, but you're not going to be dying because someone didn't heal you. If you die because of lack of heals, it's your fault. So there's a healing slot, and after that there's 3 utility skills, and these you can pretty much pick whatever you want. And there's a ton of skills for each profession. Trust me, there really are a ton of skills for each profession. And then there is 1 elite skill, which you need to pick it really, really well, because it will pretty much be one of those skills that's like, okay, guys, it's time. It's like a Leroy Jenkins skill. Let's do this, Leroy, and push the elite skill and just destroy everything or something like that. So these are the skills that you're going to have to kind of master. You're going to have to master your profession skills. You're going to have to master your weapon skills, which will be 3 skills for your main hand, 2 skills for your offhand, and then you're going to have to master your 3 utility skills and 1 elite skill. These are all the buttons you're going to have to push. You're not going to have to, because there's a ton of skills, but you're never going to have to use them all at the same time. You're going to pick a set number of skills, and a set number of skills are going to be picked for you according to the weapons of your choosing. And those are the skills that you're going to have to deal with, which I find really, really cool, because it's like, even in Guild Wars 1, I like this system, which is like, suppose that, I'm not sure how many of you ever played Magic the Gathering. I used to play Magic the Gathering, and one of the cool parts of playing Magic the Gathering was building your own deck. You'd be like, okay, I want to build a deck that's, I don't know, red and green or whatever, and it's going to have the green for the powerful creatures, it's going to have red for the direct damage. This kind of works the same way. You're going to pick a skill set that's going to complement the weapon that you're using and the offhand that you're using, or even complement the zone that you're fighting in. You're going to have to change these skills around. Like, I remember back in Guild Wars 1, you would have to change your skills all the time. So that's how skills work. So apart from skills, there's also traits. And how do traits work? So from the only thing I really saw of the trait system, because it starts at level 11, was in the PvP section of the game, and I could respec freely. So I'm going to assume that you can just respec your traits as long as you're in a city environment. I'm going to assume that you can respec these freely. So also something else that I need to assume, because I only played around with traits on the warrior class, I'm going to assume that everyone gets kind of the same treatment as the warrior. So how did traits work? Assuming that everyone gets the same treatment as the warrior, every class is going to have 5 traits. And what are traits? So traits, it's like this this passive way of improving your character. You can almost say that in Guild Wars 2, traits is like the talent tree, okay? Except that you don't get special abilities in the talent tree, you just get to change the way your abilities work. So I'm not, in that aspect, it actually might be like the glyph system. So whatever, you get to change the way your skills work with traits. So the warrior had traits like strength, arms, defense, all that kinds of stuff. So you can expect, like, for instance, the thief class or whatever. I didn't really play a thief, but I assume that they're going to have traits like stealth, dexterity, that kind of stuff. So, and what do these traits do? You get 5 traits for each class, assuming that each class gets the same treatment as warrior, like I said. 5 traits. Investing points in your trait, you basically are going to invest points. And you're going to have 70 trait points to invest. Now, investing points in a trait will eventually unlock a passive skill. So let's say you invest 5 points in a trait, you're going to get a passive skill. Along with that passive skill, just the fact of you investing points in that trait is going to give you a bonus. Like, if I remember correctly, investing in the arms trait would give you a bonus in power and a bonus in damage or something like that. And that's pretty much what you can expect. So I expect some traits, you'll get bonuses in health, bonuses in your endurance bar, which is the thing for rolls and whatever. Basically, there's going to be some kind of a passive bonus whenever you're investing points onto a trait. After you invest points into that trait, let's say you invest 5 points on a specific trait, you will get a passive skill. And also, at a certain number of point investment in a trait, you will also get a trait slot. Now, I know this is kind of complicated for someone who still hasn't watched this system. As a matter of fact, it took me like about 20 minutes of actually analyzing to see how everything worked. And just me talking about it is not really going to elucidate you all that much. But just stay with me for a second here. So 5 traits. Investing points in a trait will unlock passive skills. Aside from passive skills, it will unlock a trait slot. You can get up to 3 passive skills. If you max out a trait, you will get 3 passive skills, which will be specific to that trait, and the 3 trait slots. And what can you put in a trait slot? Well, each trait will have 12 choices that you can pick for your trait slot, which this just completely blows my mind, the number of combinations that you can actually do in a character. And actually, I should say this differently. The number of combinations that you can do that matter. It's not like, I'm just going to pull World of Warcraft here. Like, let's say, oh, I'm going to make a protection warrior. Sure, you can make 10 different builds. But after you make those 10 different builds, you can probably narrow it down to like maybe 2 or 3 that really matter. The other ones are just silly variations that aren't that different at all. And what it strikes me as is that these traits are going to be generating radically different characters, because there was like a trait that increased your damage. One of the trait slot choices that you could have that would increase your damage when your endurance bar was not full. So this is a trait that would support a character that dodges a lot. You know what I mean? And this is just one of those choices. I mean, there's 12 choices per trait. Okay, if I was to do just some quick math in here, I mean, I know that there's 12 choices. I'm just going to say 10 just to make it easier. So basically, every character would have about 50 different choices. So 50 different choices of traits that would change the way your character would work. Times the number of classes. What is it? 8? I'm not even sure. 8. So 50 times 8. It's a lot. It'd be like, is it 400? Yeah, I think it's going to be 400 different choices that you get throughout the whole game. This is just for traits, just for passive skills. 400 different passive skills, plus all the crazy ass skills that you get depending upon the weapon that you're using, depending upon the way you build your character. Some of these traits will boost specific skills. I mean, it's just a complex system, and I love complex puzzles because it's like, oh man, now I want to do my character like this. I remember one of the things that I really loved about, let's say, Diablo 2 was thinking out the kinds of builds that I could make. I'd be like, okay, I want to make a sorcerer, and I want to be able to do some ice orbs, and now that synergizes with this skill, and put some thunderstorms in there. You know, planning out your builds, and that's the kind of stuff that I really like. Which is also one of the reasons why I'm kind of disappointed with Diablo 3 being ridiculously simplistic, is because Guild Wars 2 is so much more complex. It will give you a lot of diversity to create your character. You can have, I don't know, 40 warriors, and they can all be different. You see, this is a big deal for me. Like, the warrior will change. It's like, oh, this warrior wields an axe. This warrior wields a sword. They're already ridiculously different. They have an entire different skill set. Now this warrior uses 2 swords. It's different from the warrior that used a sword and a shield. You know, it's lots of diversity, and I'm a sucker for that. I love it. I eat it up. Okay. Whew, damn it, I just can't get tired of talking about this game. This game is going to be amazing. Trust me. If you have any kind of interest in this game, you need to check it out. Check out all of the crazy materials that are going online right now. And now, as I'm reaching the end of this video, so to speak, I'm going to talk a little bit about PvP. Now, I didn't do a lot of PvP because I'm usually not a big PvP player per se. But it is important to me, PvP. I like doing PvP, but I'm not like super into PvP. So one of the things I couldn't actually do was world versus world. Because, like I said, I didn't have a lot of time, plus I had those login issues. So what I did do is I played just some standard PvP. Basically what the game does is it scales you up to level 80. It gives you a PvP set of armor, a PvP set of weapons, so that your gear-wise, you're pretty much equal to everyone else. So it's like balanced, okay? There's no excuses. All you have to know is how to play your character, and you're in equal grounds as everyone else because you're going to be level 80. You're going to have access to all the traits. You can change the traits around. You can do whatever you want with your character. Thing is, you will have to unlock items for use. Like, for instance, I remember that my warrior, it started out with dual wielding axes. Now, if I wanted to go axe plus shield, I know that you have to do something in PvP to unlock the shield because I did not start out with a shield in PvP. Same thing for ranged weapons. I only started with a rifle, and that's the only ranged weapon I had on my warrior for that. So there's still stuff to unlock in PvP, despite the fact that you're max level and have access to all the skills and all that crazy stuff. The PvP maps I played were pretty much point capture, kind of like a Wraithy Basin style maps. It's like, oh, you have to go here, capture this point, go here, do this. Except they had a lot more verticality on them. And I know that I use this word a lot on previous videos. Not sure that everyone understands what verticality is, but basically what I mean by verticality is there's a lot of vertical in those levels, which means there's a lot of going up through stairs and going up to towers. There was even a map that had a clock tower in it, and you could go up these stairs and go from the outside. Then once you would reach the top, you could break the windows and go inside through the windows. I thought that was really cool. Okay, that was a really nice touch in my opinion. So there's more verticality in Guild Wars 2 maps than in World of Warcraft maps, so to speak. There was a point, like I said, it was a point capture system, and the combat system was the same as you do in PvE. Of course, you're doing it against other players. There's still that death system that people can come and revive you. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. I especially enjoyed the fact that PvP is balanced from the point that everyone, it's not like, oh, if I grind gear for 20 hours a week, I'm going to be better than someone else who doesn't. No, they put you on equal ground with everyone else, and that is extremely important for me. That is just, I just thought that was really cool that they did that stuff. Or was it SWTOR tried doing that? Didn't really work out because the people who had that gear that, what was the gear called? In World of Warcraft, it was resilience gear. I'm not sure what was the stat that you had in SWTOR that did pretty much the same thing. I don't think that Guild Wars had it. At least, like I said, I didn't play it for a whole lot. The points where I played it, I felt pretty powerful. I didn't feel like my character was gimped, like I couldn't do any damage or that someone else was doing a lot more damage than me. I felt on equal ground. Sure, I still lost a lot because I wasn't very used to the key bindings, but it felt balanced. That's the point I'm getting at. And yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say, I believe. I might be missing something, and if I do miss something and I remember it later, I'll be sure to make another video about it. So anyways, I hope you guys are as excited as I am to join up in Guild Wars 2. Oh yeah, just something else that I thought was important. In Guild Wars 1, you had this system where you could pretty much play with anyone you wanted because there weren't any realms. There wasn't the concept of realms. Like there was these districts, and you could join up with anyone, anywhere, at any time. In Guild Wars 2, however, it's a little bit different. There are actually servers because, like we've mentioned, Guild Wars 2 is a consistent world MMO, just like every other MMO. And there will be servers. However, they circumvented this because they know that usually people get separated. Like, let's say some friend happens to be playing on this server and you happen to be playing on a different server, and the ArenaNet team acknowledges that this is going to happen. So what they did is they came up with this guest system. So if you have a friend on a different server, you can join that server as a guest, and you can play with your friend. So at any point in time, you can switch between servers with your characters to play with your friends. I mean, you're not switching servers, you're just playing there as a guest. And I think that's pretty ingenious because I remember a lot of times that I was in World of Warcraft and people were like, oh man, wish I could play with you, but I'm on a different server. And Guild Wars, there's not going to be that. It's like, oh, you want to play? Sure, let's hook up, whatever. Add me on friends list and I can join to your server as a guest. Thought that was pretty cool feature there as well. However, if you are a guest in a server, you cannot participate in world versus world on that server. So I still don't know exactly what world versus world is all about. I haven't tried it out. I can't wait to try it out though. The game is looking solid. It's looking amazing. There were a couple of performance issues, but hopefully it will get solved for the next beta, and I just can't wait for it. The game is going to be awesome. Mark my words, Guild Wars 2 is going to basically reshape MMO gaming. This has been Rurikhan, and my voice is gone, and I will see you guys in the next one.